Hello, and welcome back to the Remembrancers Library. My name is Ethan. Sans Vincent this week, but he should be back soon. And when he does, everything will be back to normal. We'll be chatting it up a little bit more than like we used to. But let's get right into it here. So if you're on the YouTube, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you can. Always nice to hear your guys' feedback. If you're anywhere else, give us your feedback there. Let us know how we're doing, all that sort of stuff. And pretty good episode for you this week. This week we're going to be talking something about something that's a little bit niche, but it is. I thought it'd be a pretty good one, since I don't want to get into too bigger topics until Vincent's back, because don't want to leave him out of stuff. So this week we're going to be talking about 3 dreadnoughts from the Horus Heresy era. We're going to be talking about Rylanor, we're going to be talking about Huron Fowl, and we're going to be talking about Lorik. To start off, I'll give you a little bit of a lowdown on what a dreadnought is. So a dreadnought is basically a space marine in a giant mech suit, but to be interned in one of these giant mech suits, you have to die. And they usually call it the honor of the second death. Yes, the honor of the second death, and that's where the joke comes from. Of the only problem for dying for the emperor is the fact I can only do it once. But to be interned in one of these dreadnoughts, you have had to have done glorious deeds in the emperor's name. So not everyone could be put into a dreadnought. If they did, it would just be legions upon legions of dreadnoughts walking into battle. So these 3 dreadnoughts from the get-go, were some of the most honorable and most beloved by their brothers. So it's understandable why they would be against their gene fathers in the Horus Heresy, to be expected. With ancient Rylanor, he is the more known of the 3. Huron Fowl is just tragic, and then Lorik is he's there for a book. Well, most of them are there for just one book, except for Rylanor. He has a pretty awesome book where he blows up a bomb in Fulgrim's face. Gage, throw up the meme here of hey Fulgrim. Hey Fulgrim. So we'll get right into this, and first one we'll talk about is ancient Rylanor. He was the Ancient of Rights for the Emperor's Children. How Rylanor became a dreadnought was at some point at the beginning of the Horus Heresy, when they were going out and they were doing all their stuff and getting all good and all that sort of stuff, and set up in the galaxy. Rylanor had been mortally injured in a battle with the Eldar, and due to that he got interned into a dreadnought chassis. But even being interred into a dreadnought, he was still granted the position of Ancient of Rights. And Ancient of Rights basically meant that he was the one that trained up the aspirants, the willing members of the Emperor's children that wanted to become Space Marines. They wanted to serve the Emperor as his Space Marines and stuff like that. So it was his job to make sure that they were good and ready to get into it. And due to his position and due to his loyalty to the Emperor, loyalty to his legion, he was actually considered to be a part of Fulgrim's favoured sons. So Fulgrim had a group. Fulgrim's chosen were essentially Fulgrim's version of the Mournival. They were Fulgrim's version of the Mournival, except for being his heart and his soul and his mind and his war spirit and stuff like that. They were essentially just the selected captains of Fulgrim's legions, and their position was just to, party hardy with Fulgrim before a battle. That's really all it was. Because the Emperor's children, Fulgrim would celebrate before the battle was won, because they were assured that the battle would be won because of how perfect they were. We'll talk about that when we talk about the Emperor's children, but that gives you an idea of what kind of position Rylanor was in. Rylanor had this amazing ability, and it's one of the reasons why Fulgrim loved him, that he had the ability to notice a lie the moment it was told. Due to this, when Saul Tarvitz went to Rylanor, he had petitioned him to stay on the Pride of the Emperor when the Istvan III atrocity was happening. Rylanor realized that it was not for the reason that he was saying, and his reason was ultimately noble. So Rylanor took his place and was there for the Istvan III atrocity. Because of this, the Andronius. So Saul Tarvis had taken a position on the Andronius where Rylanor would usually take his place, Rylanor would usually hold his station. Sorry, I got that mixed up there. I've got a whole bunch of notes spread across everything that I'm trying to keep a thing on right now. As we know with Istvan III, the Emperor's children sent their loyalist counterparts there to take part in what would become to be known as the Istvan III atrocity. Rylanor, being interned in a dreadnought, was able to survive the virus bombing because his chassis was sealed, and because the organic part of him was not exposed to the Life Eater virus. He was able to survive it. And there is a really awesome moment in the Istvan III book where it describes Rylanor as standing atop a ruined building and watching as the fire descends from the sky as they ignite the atmosphere. But after this, Rylanor is ordered to go and order an underground hangar, with Lucian and Eidolon even commenting on the fact that he must be dead because they would be unable to find him under the amount of rubble that was dropped upon it. And they assumed his death, but the truth is that he had survived, and he had basically been buried under this hangar for hundreds of years, being left alone and being driven insane due to his isolation, but also, betrayal of his father probably sent him over the edge as well. So Rylanor, he eventually constructed a psychic beacon on Istvan III, and he set off the beacon. And it called Fulgrim to him. And now at this point, Fulgrim is in his full demon form. And when Fulgrim arrives there and finds Rylanor, I do believe that he brings 2,000 sons with him. No, 2,000 sons find him as well. They also respond to this beacon. Yes, that's it. Yeah, 2,000 sons respond to this beacon as well. And Rylanor has acquired one of the unexploded virus bombs that was dropped on Istvan III. And when Fulgrim arrives, it is Rylanor's plan to detonate this virus bomb, because he believes that no creature in the galaxy, Immaterium or Materium, would be able to survive the Life Eater virus. But the Thousand Suns, when the bomb is ignited, they hold the virus bomb in place and they stop it from spreading. They use their magic to spread it. And at this moment, Fulgrim uses this point to mess with Rylanor a bit. He pulls him from his dreadnought. No, he explains to him before pulling him from his dreadnought that Fulgrim could recreate him. He could make him beautiful. He could make him perfect. And Rylanor, of course, denies this. And Fulgrim says you don't have the option, and then basically pulls open Rylanor's chassis and pulls out what's left of the Space Marine beneath. And the Thousand Suns, so moved by the speech of Rylanor as he lies there dying, releases the virus bomb, letting Rylanor have his death, but also injuring Fulgrim and wounding his pride, which is near impossible to do to, the prideful one. But that is the story of Rylanor. Next we're going to talk about Huron Fowl. So Huron Fowl was a Death Guard, a Death Guard dreadnought during the same atrocity. We learned about him during the same atrocity as we learned about Rylanor. So we learned about him on Istvan III. Much like Rylanor, Huron Fowl is injured quite extensively against a bunch of Xenos called the Jugal. So he got interned rather close to the beginning of Istvan III. So they go down to Istvan III, and the Death Guard at this point, they are tasked with taking the trenches outside of the Coral City. So Huron Fowl was obviously deemed too loyal, and he was sent down. So he was down there assisting his brothers, helping them move through the trenches, taking care of any heavier attacks that happen, stuff like that. When it is the captain that he is with receives the transmission from Lucian that the Life Eater virus is going to be deployed on the planet. Temeter, who is the captain that is with him, commands a retreat and a heading to safety, heading into the bunkers that are around them so they can seal them up and escape. Now, Huron Fowl asks for some clarity on this, but isn't given any. So Huron Fowl is ordered to enter the bunker before the bombs land, but Huron Fowl denies Temeter and says that Temeter should head into the bunker himself, as his dreadnought armor will allow him to survive the blast, much like we know with Rylanor. So Temeter says no, and they argue back and forth, but before either of them have the chance to get into the bunker, they slam it shut and seal it as they can see the Life Eater bombs dropping, and they can see the wave coming towards them. Temeter immediately starts to feel the effects. His blood is running thick, his skin is starting to melt off of his body, and Huron Fowl picks him up and holds him in his arms. And this is when Temeta notices that there is a crack in Huron Fowl's armor. And when the captain is chastising him, he's saying, why would you stay out here if you knew that your armor was cracked, if you knew that you were going to die anyway? Why would you stay? Why would you give your life for us? And he replies with, it is a veteran's prerogative to basically take care of the younger versions of him. Huron Fowl is offended by the fact that his father, the War Master, all of them would be so cowardly as to drop virus bombs on them to take care of what is left. So he carries Temeta away from the bunker, holding him in his arms as he dies, and he looks down at him, and Huron Fowl looks down at Temeta and curses those that would abandon them and that would do this the way that they would. And with his last words were, we'll go together. And he ignites his fusion core. And the line from the book is, for a moment on the battlefield, a star was born and then quickly died, I believe is what the line is. And with that, Huron Fowl gave his life to save his brothers and what was left of the Loyalist Death Guard on Istvan III. Next, we'll talk about Lorik. He'll be the last of the Dreadnoughts that we talk about today. And this is a very short one. So Lorik was actually known as the first in the World Eaters. He was the first Dreadnought to be. He is believed to be the first of the Dreadnoughts in the World Eaters army. So he actually led a legion, or not a legion. He led a battalion of Dreadnoughts in his chapter, in his legion. And during the Gehenna massacre, I believe we talked about it before, Lorik was reawoken by Mago, who of course was leading a rebellion against Angron and his World Eaters that had been given the Butcher's Nails and were going crazy on... basically, Mago did not like the way that Angron was playing things and he wanted him to stop, so he was leading a rebellion against him. So after, obviously, the defeat of the rebellion and Angron installing Butcher's Nails throughout the Legion, Lorik would be spared the Butcher's Nails, luckily. But he would have to stand by and watch as the Warhounds, as they were known, the Legion that he knew them as the Warhounds, as they slowly fell to being barbarians and butchers and just demons on the battlefield. What pushed him over the edge was Istvan III, of course, and as he watched, he still claimed that he would be loyal to his legion, he would be loyal to his father, because that's all he ever knew. But as the Shadow Crusade pulled on, and as Angron was being transformed into a demon by Lorik, Lorik decided to change his leanings, and he believed that he could no longer take part in what had happened to his legion. So he attacked Lorik, and even though he made the attack and decided to go against his father, it would not work well, as Angron would get between the two of them and absolutely just tear Lorik apart and just ruined him. But that's all I've got for today. That's where my notes finished. I guess I was not too pressed on that one. Thank you guys for listening, and if you are on YouTube, as again, like, subscribe and comment. If you're anywhere else, let us know how we're doing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.